Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So in this video we're going to talk about what happened over the weekend, what's coming up this week at Aintree, and also looking ahead to the Bet365 Gold Cup, which I think there's actually one in that race that I really like, but I have a feeling he's going to run elsewhere. And I'll explain that as we go through the videos. So the first horse, we'd look at how our four did last week. Sandown was good, he won. Highlighted him at 5s, went off 9-4, kicked for home. I think he got a lead off, was it Flicker Voyou, gave him a lead. Present and Counting definitely went forward after a while. Sandown kicked for home. I thought he actually kicked for home a little bit early, but still managed to win, which was good. So that race behind Captain Orr, Kitty's Light, Our Power, Galahad Quest, that was Enrillo, has taken another form frank to it. It was a good race at Kempton, that 3 mile, which you'd expect considering the prize money involved. I did highlight Elvis Mail as the biggest danger, and interestingly he went off 5-2 second favourite, having been 7-1 the outsider of the field when I first looked at the race. So it was a great start with Sandown winning at 5s. Whoops, wrong race. We followed it up with Get a Tonic winning at 3s. She went off 5-2. She was the best horse in the race in a handicap. She's a listed animal. That's where she'll be back into soon. Not handicapped for very long. So we started off with 2 from 2 on the Friday. That was great. Saturday we had West Cork finish second. He got caught on the line by the fast-finishing Anna Bonina after it looked like he was just about getting on top of one more for the road. Hugely frustrating. Voix de Rêve travelled exceptionally well, again, but didn't get home, or just found this quality a bit too, the horses were a bit too good for him. And then we also finished second again in the Scottish National. Obviously, we were on at 14s for Kitty's Light. He's run a really good race. Win My Wings was just far too good here, off the handicap marks. Kitty's Light didn't jump anywhere near as good as he usually does. I thought his jump at the second really put him on the back foot, and just got himself behind. And when Win My Wings was making her move around the outside, Kitty's Light was unable to make the same move and was still back, midway or even further back than that with, a mile to run. He made relentless ground. He's got to be aimed at the Grand National surely next year. I really, really like Kitty's Light. He's now finished second in 3 feature handicaps, second in the Charlie Hall. He's a really good horse. And one thing you've got to remember, he is 6. That's crazy. To have placed in 3 handicaps like that at 6, yeah, he's very, very good. He just needs a bit of luck, and hopefully they'll aim him at the Grand National. We will come back to Kitty's Light because we'll talk about the Bet365 Gold Cup as well. So moving on to this weekend's racing, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we start off with the 2.5 mile Grade 1 at Aintree. And you can see that Harry Cobden has been provisionally booked to ride Pick Dory because Brave Man's Game is not going to run here. Brave Man's Game is going to run in the 3 mile race. If you take Brave Man's Game out, you can probably take Do Your Job out. Is there anything in that race that's dangerous to Pick Dory? No, I really don't think there is. I know he only beat Miller's Bank by a length last time, but he's £5 better off because they're all carrying the same weight apart from the mare. Yeah, I really think Pick Dory takes all of the beating in here, and you can currently get 2-1 about Pick Dory. With the ground likely to stay on the quick side, yeah, I really like him. I think he takes all of the beating there. We'll move through the races to see if there was anything else. I don't like anything in the juvenile. Nothing in the bowl at the moment. Nothing in the, can't think what that's called, the 2.5, Grade 1. Nothing in the Fox Hunters. Come on, David Maxwell. You'd imagine Bob and Co will be the one they run there. do like a couple in here that I want to talk about. There's 3 in here that I want to talk about. And they are Frero Bamboo, with Charlie Deutsch provisionally booked. Gaelic Coast, with Brian Hughes provisionally booked. And Gunsight Ridge. Now, if you've been listening to my videos or watching my videos, you'll know I've talked about them all many times already. Frero Bamboo finished third at the Cheltenham Festival when getting himself a long way behind. I just got a feeling he might do the same thing again, especially if the ground is a bit quicker. He may find himself, dropping 3 or 4 lengths off the back before running on strongly again. Now, I think he'll run his race again. It's whether something has got the run on him a little bit earlier on in the race. The two that I think are very interesting, Gaelic Coast. We all saw his effort at Cheltenham last time when he was 4th. Travelled really well, but looked like he didn't get home. I had hoped they would aim him at the Grand Annual. It seemed obvious. Run really well at Cheltenham over 2.5, dropping back to 2 mile then. Didn't quite stay the trip. I think he'll go very well. Personally, if I was only allowed to pick one horse in this race, and this is going to be my selection at this current stage, it's Gunsight Ridge. I think that form line with Dolos, Bundoran, there was another one, Frero Bamboo, it's really strong. And Gunsight Ridge and Lompress. Gunsight Ridge was second to Lompress, then won at Sandown, and then finished third at Sandown. When he finished third at Sandown, he and Bundoran went off way too hard. Dolos got to track them through, and Frero Bamboo picked up the pieces for second. Gunsight Ridge off 134, I really like that. I think he will go very close here. Just give him a slightly more conservative ride, and I think he's the one that is the one to beat in the race. He's a decent price at the moment. You can currently get 14s at Coral. I can't imagine why they wouldn't run him, and I think he's going to go very, very close in that. The other two I've highlighted are 8s and 9s, and Gaelic Coast is 16s, 12s, 14s. I think Gunsight Ridge is my selection at this stage, and I will be having a bet on him. The final race of the day is a bumper, and I don't have anything in the Fillies and Mares bumper at the moment. So moving on to the Friday, we'll start off with the 2.5 handicap, and there's 4 here that could be interesting, depending on who turns up. And they are McFabulous, because I like McFabulous. I think this is his trip, and the handicap is what he needs. I don't think he's good enough for Grade 1 company. Phil's Duderie, his second last time out behind Unexpected Party Ascot, was a very good effort. I just wonder whether there's a couple in here that are potentially better handicapped. And those two, I think, are Good Risk at All and Langadan. Now, Good Risk at All has obviously gone up to a mark of 137 after winning very impressively at Ascot and beating Christopher Wood. Langadan, off 137, I think Langadan is still ridiculously well handicapped. He got brought down at the second at Cheltenham, so didn't have a race. His second behind Galopin de Champs now looks even better, although Galopin fell. At Cheltenham, he was going to win very, very impressively. Langadan's got to be a 145, maybe even a 150 horse running in a handicap. They're going to run here. They missed out at Cheltenham. They'll be gutted, but now they can go and win a race. It's not. They didn't make a mistake going to Cheltenham. He got brought down. It's not like he tailed off or didn't only finish third. He got brought down. He could have got brought down if he'd run if say he'd gone in the Imperial Cup at Sandown. He could have got brought down then. So suggesting that Langadan was campaigned poorly, I think is a load of rubbish. You can't judge for being brought down. He could be brought down in this race, and then he could be brought down in the next race, and we'd say, well, yeah, that's because he was campaigned rubbish. No, it wasn't. It's because they left it. They really tried to hang on to him to win a race at the Cheltenham Festival, and it didn't quite work. So he's the one I think of the 3 that I'm most keen on, of the 4, sorry, that I'm most keen on. Langadan, Good Risk at All, and McFabulous would be. I'd probably be looking at one of them as maybe a backup selection for Langadan. But as soon as I can get a price on Langadan, I will be having a bet on Langadan. Moving on to the 220. Don't have anything in that. 255. Now, this is the 3 mile Grade 1 novice chase, and interestingly, if you go to Odds Checker, they have it down as being on Saturday. It's not, it's on Friday. You can see Harry Cobden's been provisionally booked to ride Brave Man's Game, Charlie Deutsch on Long Press. No jockey yet on a Hoisinor, but surely he's going to go there after he won at Cheltenham, beating Brave Man's Game in the 3 mile novice hurdle last year. For me, if a Hoisinor had jumped better, he would have won at Cheltenham. And I just think those fences didn't quite help him at this stage of his career. He's still learning, whereas Long Press has figured that out already. On ability, I think a Hoisinor is still better than Long Press. I really do. And I think he's going to give Brave Man's Game a good run for his money. I'm surprised that they've got a Hoisinor as big as 9-2, personally. I think they should be much closer, the three of them. And unless Lucinda comes out and says a Hoisinor's not running, which would really surprise me, considering they were thinking of missing Cheltenham and going to here, I don't see why he's not going to run a really big race here. And I think at the prices, he would be the one that I'd want to be on again, a Hoisinor. If he jumps a little bit better, I think he beats Long Press. And Brave Man's Game, the drift is a strange thing. I wasn't expecting to see Brave Man's Game drifting. But I think a Hoisinor can beat Brave Man's Game at Aintree as well. The 3:30 is the 2 mile 4, pretty much, Grade 1. And do you know what? This is a poor 2 mile 4 Grade 1 for me. I don't think Funambule Savole is as good as his handicap mark. I don't think So Royal is as good as his handicap mark. The horse I do think is as good as his handicap mark is Facadouderie. I think Facadouderie wins this quite comfortably. He won here last year after finishing second at Cheltenham. They missed Cheltenham this year because they didn't want to finish second at Facadouderie. I thought that was a good decision. They've come here fresh, and I think he wins that as well. And he's currently 6-4. I think that's fair, but I think he goes off odds on the day. These are like Grade 2 horses, I think, behind. He's a Grade 1 horse, just keeps bumping into Allaho. Moving on to the 405, which will be the second one over the national fences, and I was very interested to see that Nicolas Boinville has been provisionally booked for Mr. Coffee. If Mr. Coffee jumps well, I don't even think he needs to jump well. I think if he jumps okay and gets over the national fences, I think he wins this. I thought Sam, after being hampered, it wasn't a mistake by Mr. Coffee. He got hampered at the second or third. Then Sam, I think, thought he was going to win it, on the bridle, and it didn't quite work. As I said, I think he's a 150 horse still. The biggest danger, personally, I think could be Riders on the Storm. He's down to a nice handicap mark. It's all about if he jumps the fences and actually puts in a good performance. He's a Grade 1 winner, now in a handicap, just hasn't been running up to scratch recently. They've been waiting for better ground with him, which they should get here. But I just think Mr. Coffee could still be progressive and will take all the beating there. You can get 10s about Mr. Coffee, and I think actually that's a really good price. I've also written down, typically, 5-star Getaway for Christian Williams. As I said, that form at Kempton, I think, is really good form. And in the previous race, 5-star Getaway had actually beaten. That's interesting that they're both owned by the Carl Hinch and Mark Scott, aren't they? 5-star Getaway for Christian and Riders on the Storm for Richard Hobson. So, this is why it's always good to look at what's going on to see if you can work out, what's a true bit of money. And I think that is a true bit of money. I think 5-star Getaway's effort when he beat Kitty's Light, he beat Captain Nor, they all ran at Kempton, and 5-star Getaway came out the best of those. He won. He then ran under a penalty and finished third, and then last time disappointed at Kempton. But I think that Kempton form is very, very strong, and it looks like they've saved him for this 5-star Getaway, and the fact that there's a bit of money for him probably suggests he is going to run here. So I think they would be my 2 for the race, Mr. Coffee and 5 Star Getaway. I'm actually going to rule out Riders on the Storm purely on, obviously, Carl and Mark, I think, are fancying 5 Star Getaway a lot more. And maybe Riders on the Storm won't even turn up. Looking at the 440, it is a 3-mile novice hurdle. I didn't have anything in this. I did. I felt Manila Crooner is the one to beat. I think we all know that. If he's over his injury, I think he goes and runs a really big race. I think he would have gone well at Cheltenham. But it's all about whether he's over his injury and whether he turns up. The final race of the day is a handicap hurdle for conditional jockeys, and there's 2 in this race that I like, over this 2.5 a furlong. The first one is Gary Claremont, who I'm convinced only wants this trip. They tried him over 2.5 the last twice, and it hasn't quite worked. He ran well at Ascot, over 2.5, but I don't think he quite got home. Dropped back to 2 mile, and I think he goes very, very close. The other one, again, if you watch my videos, you know who it's going to be. Severance, right at the bottom, gets in off 125, or would get in off 125, his official mark. The form behind Cormier, Favois, and Saint Deroux was good form. And Severance, I think the removal of the hurdles at Kelso were actually against him. You could see that Brian Hughes ended up getting to the front, went for home, and got run down in the final straight, which was, it was like 7 furlongs, wasn't it? The after the last, because of all the hurdles being omitted. I think if he rode the race again, he'd slightly delay his challenge and try and be finishing rather than kicking for home so early. I think in this type of race, none of these really strike me as being one of those that could go and potentially win like a bonus race on the way to Cheltenham. I really like Severance. He should get in. I'd imagine this is where they're going. And he would be my number 1 in that for sure. But as I said, I do also like Gary Claremont if they decide to drop him back in trip to 2.5. Moving on to the Saturday. So BHA haven't updated their website, but we do know the runners. The first race on the card is a 3-mile handicap hurdle. And there's 3 in this that interest me. 2 of them I think are classy horses, and one of them I think is on the improve. And this trip would suit, but I just wonder whether it's the right time to be stepping him up. So the first horse I want to talk about is Emitom, who's only going to be running off 135. That would be very, very workable. I think off 135, he should go very close. He's had the run-up before at Aintree. He finished 2nd in a Grade 1 behind Champ. He was only a length behind Champ. If him and Champ, they might have even been half a length. If Champ was running in this race, even off his handicap mark, I bet you would be nearly favourite, if not favourite, in a handicap. Emitom is clearly tricky, difficult to get right, and doesn't always put his best foot forward. But hopefully returning to Aintree could see him put his best foot forward and run a really big race off a very low handicap mark. The second horse to talk about is a horse called If the Cap Fits. He's been entered in this race, again off a low handicap mark. I imagine Ben Bromley will take another 7 off again. He finished 6th in the Potemps final, but he does have Aintree form. He won at Aintree. He won a Grade 1, beating Roxana and Apple's Jade, over 3 mile. Now in a handicap, I don't think he's been running badly in the handicaps. He ran well at Cheltenham, he ran well at Sandown. At a track that we know suits him for definite, in fact he's beaten Roxana and Apple's Jade here, I think he goes very, very close here as well. And the third horse I want to talk about that I don't want them to be stepping him up in trip just yet. It's Party Business. I think the 3 mile trip will definitely suit him. I'm not sure he's quite of the class of Emitom and If the Cap Fits, and I don't think he'll get to that sort of class either. But I do think they can wait before stepping up to 3 mile. Wait until next year. Go and look for a 2.5 mile race first, either here, or not that he's actually entered in anything here. Go to Chepstow or someone like that for like the Silver Trophy, and then work up to stepping up to 3 Mile to return to the Cheltenham Festival for the 10th final. I don't think they need to rush it and go to the 3 Mile at Aintree straight away. I've also written down Edwardstone, and I've put 4 Zs next to it. Edwardstone wins the 2 Mile Maghall Novices Chase, but it'll be boring. I then hope Time Hill can reverse the form with Flooring Porter. Flooring Porter was very good at Cheltenham. Again, was given a fantastic ride. But I wonder whether he'll turn up here. And I think Time Hill definitely will turn up here. Now, the final race I want to talk about is this one here, the Betway Handicap Steeplechase. And we can have a look at the prices for this. And there's 4 horses that caught my eye here. The first one, 5-Star Getaway, probably isn't going to go here then. The fact that he's being backed for the Topham probably suggests he's going to be running in the Topham. So we could cross him out. The second horse is Remastered, and I think he's got a little bit to play with. But I think there's 2 horses in this race that have a lot more to play with. But I think one of them would be better off going elsewhere. So the horse that I think should run here is Chandler. You know, if you watch my videos, I talked about horses that have been running in graded races that should run in a handicap. One of them was Chandler. He ran in the Ryanair. He wasn't good enough for the Ryanair, but he's definitely better than his handicap mark. And he's the right favourite. He's 6-1. I think that's about fair. I actually think he'll go off shorter. The other horse that I think is well handicapped, but not for here, is Captain Orr. Captain Orr is only rated 133 after winning last time of 127. I think he should run here in the Bet365 Gold Cup. Now, why? Kitty's Light is the favourite after finishing second in the Scottish National. He finished second in this race last year as well, and should go close if he turns up. But what does he go up from yesterday? I think he goes up from Saturday, I think he goes up £4. That means he'll be running off a mark of 147. Plus, Jack can't claim 3 anymore. So it'd probably be Jack again riding. But that would mean he would be between 14 and 18 pounds worse off with Captain Orr. 14 to 18 pounds with Captain Orr if they turned up. That depends on the sort of mark that Kitty's Light goes up for his run at the weekend. Similarly, if we look at the other horses in that race, Enrillo, he would be, although Enrillo is better off with Kitty's Light, Captain Orr would be £8 better off with Enrillo. He would be £9 better off with Potterman, who ended up being given the race after the disqualification of Enrillo. So there's £8 with Enrillo, £9 with Potterman, and 14 to 18 with Kitty's Light. Let's just have a look at that race, and we'll skip forward towards the end. Let me just mute it. We will skip into it to see where is Captain Orr. There. That's Captain Orr there. This is Enrillo. This is Potterman. This is Kitty's Light. And this is Enrillo. Captain Orr, sorry. So Enrillo, Captain Orr, Potterman, Kitty's Light. Look at how close he is. If we take off... Let's keep going. Just get to the finish. Is that £8 worth? I don't think so. Is that between 14 and 18 pounds worth? I don't think so. Is that £9 worth? Again, I don't think so. I think if Captain Orr ran here, Captain Orr would be the one that takes all the beating. With Kitty's Light and Enrillo going close, definitely. But I think Captain Orr should run here. I also think, with that in mind, if we go back to this race, that's why Captain Orr should not run in this race. Chambleu, I think, is the best handicapped horse in the race. In the Bet365, Captain Orr would be the best handicapped horse in the race. Kitty's Light certainly could be still well handicapped, and Enrillo could be still well handicapped, but Captain Orr would be the best handicapped horse in the race. And that's why I think he should run here. Kitty's Light should run here, and in real life will run here, and not take on Shambler. And I think Shambler would then obviously, be an even shorter price here, and he's going to take a lot of beating Shambler in a handicap. But there's just something to think about for the weekend's racing. I don't talk about the Grand National because we've talked about it loads. But yeah, there's some thoughts. So let's have a quick rundown. Pick Dory, I really like him for the Grade 1, the 2.5 mile. He's currently 2-1. Gunsight Ridge, I'm a big fan of his. You can currently get him at 14s. I think he goes close. I think that form line that he's been running against is very strong. On the Friday, I'd be looking at Langadan. I hope they don't price him too short. McFabulous and Good Risk at All would be the biggest dangers, I think. I think a Hoisinor can win again over the 3 mile trip at Aintree. Fakaduduri, I think, wins the 2.5 Grade 1. Mr. Coffee, I really like him for the Topham Chase, and it's interesting to see the money for 5-star Getaway. Manila Crooner, I think, takes all the beating if he turns up, but I wouldn't be backing him yet because I don't know if he does. And Gary Claremont and Severance are 2 that I'm looking for prices on the Friday. Severance being the number 1 there. On the Saturday, I'd be looking at Emmett if the cap fits in the 3 mile race, and Chandler and Captain Orr in the 3 mile handicap. I'm hoping that Captain Orr doesn't run there. Chandler runs there and shows that his handicap mark is ridiculous. He's much better than his handicap mark. He's just been running in graded races. So thanks for listening. It's quite a long video. Sorry for that. Maybe you could watch this as your nighttime. You could even use it as something to send you to sleep if you think my voice is boring and I talk rubbish. Instead of doing a meditation thing, listen to this video. Thanks for listening. Have a great week. I might do another video later on in the week.